Veronica is here with us, and she's a Chief Human Resources Officer and is becoming just a dear friend to me. I consider her just, inspirational and just, full of wisdom and kindness, and everything oozes out from her in all kinds of ways. She does great things for people and just is such a positive light. And Veronica is currently based in Arizona. She's had just a tremendous history of, in her career of supporting HR teams and supporting companies and helping them to be the best that they can be. She also has a keen interest in how we can, really become better people in the universe, and how we can tap into all that we are meant to be. And so our time today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a lot more of a fireside chat. Veronica and I will be conversing, but as you hear topics that are interesting to you, put questions in the chat, and then we're going to try to get to it. This is one of the most out there conversations that we've had. And out there meaning, it's really spiritual in nature. And, so much of what we're trying to do, whether it's get a job, grow our business, become better leaders, climb up the ladder, whatever it is, or just enjoy our families more. It's so important that we do it with intention. And so Veronica and I are going to be conversing and bringing up all kinds of different things. And Veronica is so incredibly interesting. So, John, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you can spotlight me and Veronica, and everyone, just bring up topics or questions in the chat, and we'll see how much we can get to. And I think that this is, number one, I'm so grateful, Veronica, that you would be willing to do this, and excited to explore with you as we're going. So why don't you say a few words?
Yeah, thank you so much, Christy. I'm so happy to be here. Christy and I connected, maybe a year or two ago? I can't remember now. It's been some time. But a lot of our, discussions have been really deep discussions on, the human process of connection, right? And a lot of, like how people deal with suffering and how to help people. And working with PRG, the boot camp, I'm a referral for people, bring people in, because the greatest thing is human connection. There's no opportunistic approach to this. It's just, what can we do to make each other better? And how can we show up better in all facets of our life, right? So job search, being at work every single day, working with your family, being a part of your community, being a part of your faith, what does that look like for people? And so that's how Christy and I really got connected on this topic. And it just kind of blossomed after that. And I think I've been in such a strong space with HR. I've always wondered, why am I in HR? Like, why do I want to be in HR? And I know there's a lot of HR people on this call. It's because of the human connection side of it. I really had to take a break from life for a while. Had a lot of things that happened. I had lost 3 people that were extremely close to me. One was my mother. One was a dear friend of mine that I've known for years, tragically passed away. And I just went through a pause and said, why am I doing what I do? And what am I doing? And what do I want to do next? Right. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been in HR a long time. I don't know, Christy, like since the beginning of my conception of my career, right? But you will find my style is very authentic. There's no blurring in the background. I got bookcases. I got a vision board, thanks to my very best friend who does the same thing. And just bring your full self into the conversation. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you asked a key question, or you were asking yourself a key question. Why?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I remember in high school one time, it was like my life was kind of awkward, and I didn't really know where I fit in. And I remember sitting on the couch one time and just asking, like, why am I here? I don't really understand it. What's the whole purpose of human life and why are we all here? What are we here to do? And it set me off on an exploration. And when you and I talked, what was interesting is I feel like you know why you're here.
Mhm. I do.
And so tell us a little bit about what was your exploration like? What was, how did you kind of get into some of the things that you're interested in, especially when it comes to like consciousness and awareness and
Yes.
humanity?
Yes. So I went through a process. My mother passed away probably like 2.5 years ago, right? And I was extremely close to her. And I felt such an obligation to climb that ladder and take care of my family because my father passed away very young. And so I was on this trajectory of corporate America, right? I know there's several of you on the call that are like that. And you get in that conundrum. It's like a wheel that you get on, and you're like, I'm doing this work. I'm a robot. I feel this way. I provide an income to my family. I'm hiring people. I'm doing the role and I'm climbing, right? I went through a process around probably about 5 years ago that was like a spiritual awakening process. I did it through my faith. And my best friend can, if she's on this call, I've known her since I was 15 years old, by the way. She's like, I've known you forever, girl. What's going on? Like there was just this live transition that started happening to me over that 5 year period of time. I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. I was living in Houston, Texas. Before that, I lived in Paris, France with large organizations. And when I landed here and I lost my mother, there was another season of life that happened, right? Because then I lost my position and I gladly took my package, by the way. And then I lost my sister like 18 months later, too, right? So, and I lost my friend that I was very close to the exact same week. So it's three people in a matter of 18 months and the job. And I said, I don't know if I want to enter the workforce the same way I was before. I was in that kind of transition space. And then I was like, I need to figure out what I'm meant to do when I go to work every single day, right? I need to figure out who I'm going to be when I show up. And I need to figure out how I bring the spark that's inside of me for my spiritual awakening into my space with my relationships, all of them. And so when
So
I
it really encompassed like personal, professional,
transcended,
all of it.
it's transcendent. It was completely transcendent. And I mean, everything about me changed. I mean, because the people that had known me so long were like, you're different. Like, there's a different part of you that's showing up. You kind of change because corporate life teaches you to be a certain way. And I was very responsible. So I took care of my mom for all those years. And I was like, I got to be there. I got to show up. I got to, be the top of my game. I was highly judgmental, I'll tell you. Judgmental was a part of that corporate mentality that I had. I didn't see people for who they were. I saw them for their positions. That was a part of my old past. When I went through the spiritual process, I started seeing people through the eyes of their souls. I mean, soul, spirit, essence, whatever that is, to different people. But I started seeing a difference in the way that I was seeing and feeling and individually working with people. And then I started going down the path of like consulting, right? During that period of time. Then I really started connecting with what kind of space, what kind of people I want to work with, and how can I be myself with the companies that I work with, and how I want to have relationships with other people and bring out that essence of themselves and everything that they do and their relationships. So I just started mentoring and doing executive coaching on the side with people on an individual basis, pro bono, by the way. And then I started going, I'm not making money and I'm not, bringing an income in, but boy, I feel like I'm really making a difference in people's lives. And then after that started happening, then things started manifesting in a very positive way for me. The job that I have now manifested in a very positive way dynamically. I had a seasonal role working with people in a nonprofit capacity because I'd always done board work because that's a corporate thing. I'm going to grow in this board work area by next but no, to actually be there and help and see. I worked in an assisted living capacity, a nonprofit in St. Louis for a time. I live in Scottsdale, right? So I'm flying back and forth doing the job, and I'm going, wow, I really, even in that season, I was still bringing out light in the people I was working with, but also the people that were in these assisted living facilities, right? I know Bill, he had joined early. I mean, giving back in a way that you feel like you're meant to do is a part of your purpose in life. It's not a job to do volunteerism. It's not a job to help people who are disadvantaged or to find people that are in job search that can't afford to pay for outplacement services like Christy with PRG in your boot camp. I mean, it's like, that's like the greatest thing to be able to do. You're seeking out help. Yeah, thanks, Bill. You're seeking out help where it's needed and you're connecting with people. We have lost that. We have lost that in the world, that sheer, honest, and genuine connection of human being and human spirit, right? So that's kind of my segue into why I do what I do and why I feel the way I do about my purpose in life.
You mentioned you really examined things. You
Yes.
had lost your job and you didn't want to go back into the workforce the same
No.
way that you left it.
Yes.
It's interesting. So we've put over 4,000 people through the program, through the boot
Yeah.
camp. And so I have been able to witness so many people go through their transition. And early on, I started noticing something is that people were in transition for the amount of time that they needed to learn something that, the universe was wanting them to learn.
Mhm.
And I could tell you story after story. It's like this person started out this way and now they're this way, and then they landed.
Mhm.
And it was really interesting to me. And I could, step back and observe all of these different, people. And one story, and it was like somebody was not, he didn't have the best reputation when he interacted with people. He was quite powerful, and then but during transition he changed. And even now he is the kindest, um and he's really generous with people. And he's open, and he has a different light. And I don't think that he even realizes it.
Mhm.
And he would probably say, no, I was really always like that. And I would say no.
No. No. Right?
And but it's really interesting. I think that people who, if they're intentionally looking at their life and saying, hey, what I was doing before wasn't working, and I want to go into life differently. That's really if they're asking the question, that's when they get to start digging in, or hopefully they get to start digging in. Sherry asked a question: how did you tap into that spiritual awakening?
Well, it's interesting because I don't like to share a whole lot about the individual faiths, but I'm Catholic and I did something called an Acts retreat in Friendswood, Texas. I mean, literally in the middle of nowhere. And I met some really strong women that were going through some, and I'm like, you got to understand, I went to this retreat with two phones, going, I'm connected, I'm doing my thing. And these women are like, why are you bringing your phones to this event? And why are you not like fully engaged in our conversation and spiritual, pieces of what we do at Acts? And I'm like, well, I just feel like I, need to be connected, and, something's going to happen in China. I need to be aware of it. And so that event, my husband, my son showed up. It was just like a breaking of my inner self. And I truly believe that what was happening is God was preparing me for the deaths that were going to happen in my life. He was like preordaining me for what was going to happen. Because I do believe that things happen like that, right? I do believe in spiritual, like serendipity type things. There's no coincidences in life, I will tell you. There's none. And that you just have to be aware of them So mine just happened to be, it can be in other people's faiths, because I do have friends that are Hindu and they have shared almost the exact same thing that they've went through. One of the guys in my MBA program actually said that. And I told him, I said, it doesn't matter. It's transversal across our faiths. I think you just have to truly connect with it and go, okay, this is what's happening. The one thing that I believe that is very strong is vulnerability. I believe, I know Brene Brown, I know this may sound cliche if you guys have ever gone into the wilderness, or Brene Brown has been in Houston, Texas forever, by the way. And I was working adjunct faculty at UC Davis teaching, communications and in the talent acquisition process and how to do talent acquisition in an MBA program. And I met her and she was on that cusp of doing the vulnerability stuff. And I kept going, that's a bunch of hogwash, right? I get it, but I'm too corporate for that, right? Well, guess what? When I went through my spiritual awakening, I was like, oh wow, vulnerability is a superpower. Like, to come in, I come in with authenticness, right? So to be authentic and to feel like I can bring my full self into any conversation and not feel worried about other people judging me, or oh my God, she's wearing a pink jacket today, as an example. I lived in Paris and pink was a good color in springtime, right? Wasn't any other time. um, but I think that it's a part of self-awareness to know what your inner speaking is going on and what is holding you back from bringing that energy into your jobs and into your personal relationships and into your suffering, because that happens. Like, grief is a great one. Job loss is another one. Divorce, you name it, right? We got all kinds of forms of suffering, having to manage adult children, all of it is a part of suffering. But suffering, I learned through that vulnerability process, like, you're getting vulnerable about what's really going on and really doing that introspection really allowed me to focus on the vulnerability in my life, right? In my journey. So I bring that back to bringing that into your conversations and your processes that you're going through. Job search is just one of them, but understanding, okay, the suffering is a part of the development, right? Great things happen after suffering, by the way, right? One of my best friends and I were talking about that. Great things happen after a bad thing happens, right? But you got to seek out that. You can't go into it going, oh, it's just, because then you go down the cycle, right? Of like spinning negative energy. And that negative energy is not good, no matter what your faith, no matter what your spirituality is. It's just like a cancer in your soul. So you feel it, it manifests in body, it manifests in illness, it manifests and other negative things. You bring into this world the secret, right? You bring into this world what you're putting out. So that's kind of
You
my,
know, yeah, it's interesting. There's so you were talking about breaking apart, and
yes.
someone told me one time, and I really love this analogy. It's like a ball bouncing. You can only go as high as you've gone low.
Yeah.
And I think
Very
I'm wondering if it's the acknowledgement of, that you're really in a pit and that something's going to break through. And it's a matter of faith, it's a
yes.
matter of intention,
Yes.
and being open and being vulnerable. And and I think about gosh, there's so many correlations to being an entrepreneur, right? But
Yeah.
especially in job search. And in job search, it's like you are so vulnerable, um, but you really don't know how to step into that. And, I feel like, and I've seen so many people, they wear a mask and, it's all about the job search. I need to, be finding this position because if not, maybe I'm not worthy. And, it's just, job search by nature has a tendency to be demoralizing.
Of course. Yeah.
And, and, and if you allow that to take hold, it can be really devastating. And I've seen it break people but fortunately, most people, it doesn't break. And, but it's almost like there has to be an awareness that you're in the state that you're in and that something could be better, right?
Yes.
And you and I talked before about intention.
Right.
And so given this, vulnerability is a fantastic term for, it- be to be open to change and to be transformed. You have to be vulnerable in order to do that because it's not going to come from just, being so when it comes to intention, and you've seen a lot of people in transition, and
Yes.
you've seen a lot of people will transition in life too with
Yes.
senior citizens,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
um how does one really think about intention? Like,
Yes.
you put it out there. I mean, talk to me a little bit about the whole process of you know being really intentional.
Yes. So a good one, just to share a segue on vulnerability though, into that with intention. Vulnerability is the breaking process. Vulnerability is a part of the breaking process to realize whatever you were doing before may not work ever again. It might not ever work again. It might be you have to let go of the version of yourself that used to be in a certain space and say, oh my gosh, the uncertainty makes me extremely uncomfortable in the job search process. So I'll throw that out there. It makes me feel like I'm not worthy. It makes me, let me tell you, you're always worthy. You just don't know what you're worthy at anymore. You're making a shift and you're moving your livelihood into a different direction. It might not be the same as it used to be. This world is changing. This world is changing in a nanosecond. It can happen like you don't know when it's going to happen. And you have to be willing and able to adjust yourself to take that. So that's a part of the vulnerability I'm referring to. So when you go into something with intention, you have to go into it in a way that you're like, I know who I am and I know what I'm good at. It might not be the same thing I used to be good at. It might be that I want to work in a different space than I did before, different industry, consulting. I want to be an entrepreneur. That's a tough lift, right? I'm not gonna, but you have the grit for it, right? I was watching something with Tom Brady today, and he says, be consistent, right? Be consistent in what you're good at. Don't be consistent in what you're not good at. Go back to strength finders. That's a great assessment to tell you what you're really good at strength wise. Lean into your strengths rather than those areas that you're like, yeah, they want somebody. I'm gonna make my resume to fit the job description, right? And no, you need to figure out how to get in the door, how to network, and how to tell people, communicate the old fashioned way, not through email, but through networking, through these coffee sessions to let people know what you're looking for and go into it full force, not 50%, 100%, not, oh my God, I'm not going to land with that because that can be your intrepidation. Go into it with, I want to work at this company and I want to do these things. My vision board has it. Like I saw it 2 years ago. It's there. I manifested my vision of what I want to do. And it's that my husband's like, do you want to do executive coaching? And I realized I did my trial and error and I was like, I don't, I can do it pro bono, by the way. I can only take so many people. I love mentoring people too, by the way. There's so much time in the day. So I have learned that I have to be in a larger corporate environment, but bringing myself into that environment with people who have and companies that have the same cultural alignment that I do. I research the cultures before I go in. And so this position I'm in today, that's how I felt like I would land is with that type of company. And it's in an industry that I know a whole heck of a lot about, right, at this level in my career. But I literally thought, this is what I want to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. So that positive energy brings in what you want. And I can tell you, I did not expect it. I got a call from a headhunter on this particular role that I'm in now. But every role that I've had in the past 5 years has kind of manifested itself. I wanted to move. I wanted to leave Houston. here I am in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I knew absolutely no one, which I was totally zoning in on the Winslow, Arizona song, right? When we entered the call, because sometimes you got to go where you're uncomfortable. Sometimes you got to go where no one has gone before to get to where you need to be in life. You can't go to where it's comfortable. And oh my God, my network is all in Houston, Texas, or no, I'm going to a drier climate where I can be around a totally different group of people. And I really felt spiritually drawn here, right? So I think that I listen to those nudges, I pay attention to them, and I dot connect my networks. And that's how I did it with positive intention. But I think to your point, Chrissy, you see so many different types of people that just spin, and you cannot allow that in a job search. So with people that are on job search, and I know you've seen them through boot camp, and I know you've seen evolutions of people. It's like you're going to land when you're inside ready. It's going to manifest. You have to be ready. So know yourself first before you go in and try and get desperate about, I got to have a paycheck, because I get it. It's hard. But I think that that's a lesson learned from a job search perspective that will help everybody.
You know, you talked about stepping out of your comfort zone, really.
Yeah.
Uh, it, but you have to, it seems like, and you've done this, you have to get to a point that you're really uncomfortable with what's happening. And then to really understand who you are. You know, and I described this, my experience when, I wanted to leave Disney, and, I thought, oh gosh, I want to leave Disney. It's a world-class company. And I knew people were expressing an interest in me because of my background. Because I've been with Fortune 500 companies, FedEx, Toshiba, Nestle, Disney. Those were the only companies that I had worked for. And so I was kind of feeling a little bit full of myself until a recruiter said, well, great background, but I just really don't know what to do with you. And she was like, what? Me? Oh my gosh, I'm an MBA. I'm
Yeah.
strategic. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, and
Yeah.
all this stuff that was like, whatever. And she said, I want to know more about you. So tell me about some of the things that you've worked on. And I went through this exercise of just, like recalling things that I had done. And what I didn't know is how cathartic it would be.
Yes.
And it was, it's like, look at, how far I've come. And I didn't have an appreciation for that. I just knew where I was.
Right.
And I didn't consider, like, the path that it took me to get there.
Yeah.
And because it was always like, what's next? What's next?
Yes.
What's next?
Yes.
And in traditional corporate America, it's like, what's next? What's next? And going through this, it was very uncomfortable. It was like,
Yes.
what? She doesn't know how to position me. I mean, that means that I don't know what I'm going to be doing next. But going through that process, it was like I call it a pencil drop moment. It was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, talk about authenticity. It was like I wasn't being authentic. I was all about, you know, um, it was ego. It was totally ego.
Yes.
And suddenly it was like, you know what? This has nothing to do with my education or the companies that I worked or the positions that I had. It had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I was an amazing execution person.
Yeah.
I could get massive initiatives across the line, and I was a master at execution. So it was very different, right? It was like suddenly I felt like I cracked open from an egg, right? It
Yeah.
was like
That's
this
it.
shell that was around me was no longer there.
That's right.
And even that feeling still lives with me today. And I don't I focus on execution with clients, but
Yeah.
it's like, you know, it was really uncomfortable to go through that.
Yes.
But once I did it, it was like, you know what? It doesn't matter if people want me for, you know, or people don't want me. I know that people will want me. Somebody will want me because of the amazing gift that I have to bring.
Right.
And then it was just about finding a match. And I
Mhm.
found it in a completely different industry. And then it led me to being an entrepreneur. But
Yeah.
that whole thing about having the shell, so many of us still have a shell.
Yes.
And it's cracking through that, but it does take um, you know, work to get through that. Now, you know, when people, I mean, but sometimes I don't know that people really understand what it takes to crack
Yeah.
the shell.
Yeah.
And, you know, they might say that they've done it, but, you know, they haven't. Ha
No.
What are some things that could help people?
Well, I think you said one thing that's very key is ego, right? I've said this for like ever since I went through my spiritual process. There's like this, edging God out. I don't know if you guys, and if you call it God or spirituality, however you call it, but I think that ego is the enemy of being great in who you are as a human being. I really do. I think that I've said that for years. I mean, my best friend, I used to tell her all the time. She's, I love that. I said, man, that honestly, that's Wayne Dyer. I mean, old Wayne Dyer. Like I used to love listening to him, and he completely different individual. Into healing and all of that internally through your body, and positive energy was one of the things that he was very, very good at back in the day. But I think you have to learn how to stop putting titles on yourself, like mother, CHRO, chief administration officer. You get so tied to what the world is calling you and what you think you need to be, wife, mother. I mean, yeah, I mean, all those things, right? But like you said, it's serendipity, like how that breaking, that's a vulnerability, like going, I'm not that. I'm really not that. I'm really not a corporate HR person or a corporate Disney person, or I'm really Christy. And what Christy is so much greater than that. I'm not the car I drive. I'm not the house I have. I'm not my circle. I will talk to anyone. Like I have no, type of hierarchy with my relationships with people. And I think that when you start seeing people as human beings through that process is when you know you've broken through it. And then you kind of go, okay, this is where I'm headed. This is where I'm really good. This is where I want to be. Like you became an entrepreneur. I took my chances on thinking maybe I want to be executive, maybe I don't. Maybe I try things, try new things, try things that don't make sense for you from the past. Try them. Spend your time on things that can I do a puzzle? Super simple stuff, right? To start challenging yourself on things that you thought you absolutely did not want to do because either it wasn't cool or it wasn't what you had time for in the past. Try them and see if it resonates with you. And it will help you with steps in moving in the right direction. Small incremental steps. Tom Bradyism, consistency, right? Wake up in the morning. You're in job search. I'm just going to throw this one out there for job searchers, but transition in life, people could be, they're going into a nursing home. I mean, it's a different season of life. Don't do anything different that is self-care. Okay. So waking up in the morning, making your bed, getting your energy back up, move your body, listen to things. If it's Mel Robinson, if it's the new Pope, whatever it is, do it and consistently do the things that make you better as a human being, not because you have to. Don't pick up the phone and go, oh my God, gotta get on the latest podcast on John Maxwell's 360 leadership. Okay. Go, no, that's really not me. I was a big part of Chief. If anybody knows what the Chief Network was, absolutely. I was one of the first chiefers, right? I really loved it until that season changed for me. It wasn't a negative thing. It was like, okay, I'm not doing chief anymore, and that's okay. It's just because, why are you not doing chief anymore? Because it's not right for me right now. And that's okay. When you can say that and not feel obligated to what the world thinks that Christy needs to do, then you become a different form of who Christy is, right? So I think that that is one of the things that people learn through that process is don't change the things that make sense, change the things that don't make sense, and say, is this right? You will know if it's not right for you. You will feel this tug that says, this isn't right. This doesn't align with your ethics, your morals, your beliefs. This is not who you are meant to be. And then start moving in the next direction. You can become a
You know,
completely-
someone mentioned in the chat about a pivot and how it might be perceived. But you know what, just that statement, it's almost like it almost doesn't matter how it's perceived. You have to, right? And so if someone wants to pivot from, oh, okay, let's just say CFO to CHRO, something.
yeah,
And it's less about, like how it's perceived. It's more about how what you bring to that role, right?
it is. It's a story because your story can evolve into why you feel like you should be a CFO, right? I mean, you can create your narrative. That's the key. Creating your own narrative about your journey. And your journey is going to be different than everybody. What makes you unique? I mean, what makes you good for that role? You can make that pivot. My thing is, and no offense on the perception thing, consciousness, and this is a quantum physics thing, but consciousness is about perception, right? Your consciousness is what your perception is. That's what creates reality for you. Okay, so that's quantum physics. So what you have to realize is you decide what that perception is going to be. You make that decision, not someone outside of you. Okay, it's all inside of you. That's a pivot. That's a different way of thinking. It's a paradigm shift back in the 80s, right? But it truly is a different way of thinking about the world. You create your own reality when it comes to what people think or see or feel about you. So I think that that's a big part of that.
And then so then the job search, if you're, you're vulnerable, kind of crack out of the shell,
Yes,
and then you're still struggling with job search. Um, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that, it means that your messaging's just hasn't gotten there yet.
right.
And, it's not compelling. So, I mean, if I were to leave my business today, I know that I could go to market as, someone that can execute masterfully.
Yeah.
And, and I even took a little break not too long ago, and I was the COO for a healthcare company, and it was a turnaround situation. And I had this desire to get my hands back in to, operations and just prove to myself that I could still do it. Because,
Yeah.
I live vicariously through my clients mostly. I mean, I do. But I wanted to own it. I wanted to do it. And I did it. And it was extremely exciting for a period of time. And then I realized, CEO is just still not going to be, and my heart is really in my business. And so I came back. Um, but it was I know now still, if I go to market with what my superpower is, someone will buy it.
Yeah.
It's all about who I meet, how visible I can get, and how I'm marketing myself. I call it a paper problem. It's like, does my LinkedIn profile and my resume align? And is it my authentic brand? And if it is, it's only about getting visible and having somebody, say, wow, I want some of that.
That's it. So you have to have a receptor. It's almost like your neurons. I mean, I talk a little science here, but it's like you need to have your receptors wide open, right? Your receptors need to be wide open and you need to be open to everything and just kind of be there to navigate. You have to sometimes go in. I like what you said, like you went in and did the COO thing, Christy, because the role before I did this role was really about getting in there and proving I can do this again, but I'm going to do it with good people and I'm going to get my feng shui back, man. I got to get my balance. And when I did, I was with faith-based people, which I absolutely loved. And it was just like, but my best friend said, it's just for a season, right? If you're going to take this other role, then it's just for a season. And that's good. And I never really expected it to be anything more than that, honestly. So I just kind of felt like this is where I was headed. And it was completely okay. It's okay to adopt your feet into something and go, this isn't the right temperature of water for me right now. That's the thing, is being able to do that and say, that's really not me. That's really not going to be me. That's not where I'm meant to be, and pulling yourself up and out. But I still like the fact that you have to reprove that you can still do execution, right? Like I know I'm the same way. Like,
Yeah, it was just something I had to prove to myself because I was so good at it. And it was a superpower that I never even realized. I didn't even acknowledge it because so many of the when we have something that's special, we don't acknowledge that it's special because it comes so easy for us, right? And that was a big thing. Someone asked in the chat, how do you start that inner work? And, so when people are spinning and trying to figure it
yes,
out, how do you even get started on
break.
doing that inner work?
Yeah. So I liked your boot camp, by the way. So
I know it's pretty darn good.
it was but I think it's like I kind of started my break and making that like first step was surrounding myself with people that were going to lift me up. Like surrounding like the boot camp that you had. I told you, like, other people are like, I'm an executive coach, need an executive. I'm like, I mean, I know I just needed to be around other people. When you're going through something difficult too, I will tell you, part of it is being around other people that you can help. I did it a little bit too much. I'll be honest. I wasn't putting good boundaries around myself, but when I was doing that and doing pro bono, executive coaching as an example, and surrounding your suffering or the insecurities that you're feeling during your job search actually start lightening up when you realize that you're bringing a light to someone else. You're
That's
transferring.
really interesting. It's
Mhm.
counterintuitive to say helping others is a way for me to start my inner work.
But it is.
But that's no, you're absolutely right because there's a couple ways that you can do it. And one is you're just so broken down that you know that something's got to change. But to not have to hit that rock bottom, but to know that, as you're helping other people, you're starting to see it's like teaching others or helping others allows you to heal and improve and
Yeah.
it's all of that on the inside that's really interesting and
So it's what we were saying earlier, Christy. It was like when I started seeing people inside their eyes, like their soul, and I
yeah.
started connecting more that way, I was helping people. I was regaining who I was. Like, okay, this is really a part of me. So that was something, because I felt like I was going down this funky path of like, oh my God, I'm looking for a job. I'm going through the corporate motions, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't feel like that's productive in bringing out the best of me in that process, right? So by me helping other people, service was a huge part of it. So I'll just throw that out there. Connecting with other people, and realizing the corporate way of opportunism no longer exists within me. And so I don't want that. I want connections that are authentic and real, that can help me. And so I spent,
Oh,
yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, that's me.
So somebody asked you mentioned control versus surrender
Yes.
and it's the letting go.
Yeah.
And you know, and uh I'm wondering, is that the secret to just really um getting real, just
Yes.
letting go?
Absolutely. It's
Because that's what everything that you described, right?
Yeah. And everything that we've been taught in corporate America is to have control. Everything we've been taught, 20 years of my role as in HR, all these different large companies, it's always about control and execution. And I'm a very good executor. I know that. That's a gift I have. But the thing about it is, I need to do it as Veronica, not as whoever else. And I had to let go. And in my case, spiritually, it was let go and let God. I think somebody else just put it in the chat. I mean, I
Yeah.
literally am like, I surrender. I can't do this. I know there's something much stronger that I'm working with that can help me with that. And that for me was God, right? So I let go and let God, and I surrendered. I can tell you, when you go through a process like that, though, from a surrender and, manifesting that energy, because it does come, I can guarantee you it happens. And when it does, you have negativity all around you. You have skeptics, you have negative people going, "What are you doing? You're not doing chief anymore." Let's just throw that one in there. But nobody did say that to me, but I'm just saying it. And you will lose people. Okay. I will just tell you, you will lose people. You will have people that used to absolutely want to be connected and then will all of a sudden go silent. And that's completely okay. You have to be okay with that. Okay. So that's a part of that surrender, because you're going to have a different version of yourself that's going to be showing up now. And some people are just not going to be comfortable with it. And that's okay. Right. And you just have to be like, okay. I mean, I don't openly talk about my spirituality unless I'm in a group session where it's like called out. But I truly am a much more positive individual. If people ask me, I tell people I really come into it more with like my full self going, this is who I am and this is how I can help. This is the intellect that I have. This is my ability to execute. I don't gossip. I don't talk about people. I don't undermine people or any political jargon that happens in the workplace, because that does happen, as we all know. I simply don't play, right? And that's a part of me being who I am today.
It's interesting, and I wrote this down because you said it in different ways over and over and over again. It's about steering clear from being superficial. It has to go
Absolutely.
down deep. One of the criteria I have for people being in my life is that we have to have a deeper relationship.
Yes.
And it's like nothing is superficial for me. I have no time for superficial relationships. And what that means is, from a business development standpoint, my reach is going to not be as far because I'm going to go deep with so many people. And yeah, my business might not grow to the size that it could, but it's going to grow because of my relationships. But not just really focusing on having those deep connections, because isn't that what life is all about?
It is. It is,
Isn't
Christy.
it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And to think that, I mentioned at the beginning, in high school, I had the question, why am I here? Why am I alive? And I continued to ask that. And I do to a certain extent, but I feel like I know why we're all here. And that's to experience joy and to experience life. And with it is going to be the depths of despair and sadness and grief and questioning who we are. But then there's going to be the highs. And it's like meeting you and interacting with you. It was like that was a high. And it really, it reinforced that these relationships and going deep with people and truly connecting, and you have to be vulnerable in order to connect
Yes, you do.
with people at a deeper level. But it's like to spread love and joy and just support each other at a very, very deep level. And I love what you continue to say. It's like, to break free from the chains of, like opportunism and all of that. And you know so and you've done that for so long now.
Yes.
And how do you continue to keep up the stamina and kind of share that approach with others.
Yeah. And I know we're running short on time. Do we still have
Yeah, a few minutes.
a few minutes? So I'll leave you with some nuggets, but I will say, like, to every, because I know people are asking me, I saw a little bit of chat on how do you do that if you're not comfortable doing that. Remember that you surround yourself with people also that complement your weaknesses, right? So the areas, if you're not good at something or not, you need to be around people that are not just like you anymore. You need to be around people that you are going to be good with being uncomfortable with, because they will complement you. I promise you. I promise you that's a good thing. So give me your question again, and the last 4 minutes.
So it's how do you maintain that
Oh, energy.
yeah, energy and so
Yeah, I recharge. I am a natural introvert. I know that might sound weird. Ambivert, or I kind of can go. I can do public speaking all day long. I'm great one-on-one, but boy, I have to recharge. So my energy is very much about being very conscientious of self-care. Like I mentioned, the connectiveness of the things that waking up early. I focus a lot on well-being. When I say well-being, I surround myself with positive people. Okay. I surround myself with people that, even though they're struggling and suffering, I will love them for who they are in their suffering. And I will not veer away from that. I will tell you that if people are going through something, I'm not going to be the person to go, oh God, that's hard, I'm going to walk away. No, I'm the person that leans in on that. And that actually helps me to go back home. I do my meditation, I do prayer, I walk, I exercise, try not to eat bad, right? For all of you guys that are at home. And it's like, just surround yourself with all the things that make you the best version of who you are every day. Not, on another day, I'm gonna have yeah, we're human beings, right? But my energy truly comes from my life with prayer first, for me, exercise, surrounding myself with positiveness, giving back. Like today, this is giving back, and hopefully helping other people. That's my secret sauce, and my family is hugely supportive of me, my husband and my son and my best friend, right? And
so it's
church.
really feed yourself, put your oxygen mask on first so that you can
Yes.
help others. And that's really a huge takeaway here is get your house in order, feel good, help other people, because that lifts you up.
It does.
And you never know what's going to come out of it, right? You never do.
Yeah.
And I've experienced this. It if you do all of these things and you have this faith that what you're doing are, it's the right thing, and then opportunities come into your experience that allow you to do even more of that. And, there's a saying, and I keep it on my desk. When you come to the edge of all that you know, you must believe one of two things. Either there will be firm ground to stand on, or you'll be given wings to fly. And and that's how you live your life. And you've done that, without hesitation. And you've really created a great life for you. And you've given so many suggestions for how people can do it themselves.
Yes. And I'm here. Like Bill, right? Lift it up. You guys, you gotta keep that energy. You have to mind your self-talk. Mind your self-talk. If your self-talk is saying you can't do it, I'm not good enough, or I'm going down that, you better get up, go walk the dog. You better get up. You better call Christy. You better phone a friend. Don't go there.
Phone a friend. I love that. Phone a friend. Call in a lifeline.
Call
And
in a lifeline.
I've offered myself as a lifeline, and very few people take me up on it, which is kind of funny. But Veronica, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for giving your time and energy and thoughts to other people. I always enjoy it. And I'm coming out to Arizona in a few
I
weeks,
know. I can't
and
wait.
excited to see you. So if anybody is in the Arizona area, where thanks to Veronica, she planted the seed and made it happen. We have an employment law firm sponsoring this, and we'll be talking about the whole back to office challenges that companies are having, and it'll be some great networking. So if you're in the Arizona area, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to see you. And I'm so looking forward to seeing Veronica in person. Big
Finally.
hug, girl.
I know it's going to be wonderful. Thank you guys so very much. I hope you guys have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
weekend.
Bye.